Dentology is often considered a foil to consequentialism. While consequentialism cares only for the consequences of one's actions in a situation and making sure that the most good is done, dentology cares only of one's duties in a situation and making sure they are doing what is right. So while consequentialism cares about the end results, dentology cares only about where one stands entering the situation. Dentology is then primarily divided into two forms, that of agent-centered and that of patient-centered. The Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy states that at the heart of agent-centered theories is the idea of agency. That means that one's agency in keeping oneself morally right is the most important thing in any situation. Agent-centered theories are then split into three subsections based off of how one defines their agency, whether they define it by their intentions, by their actions, or by a combination of the two, as in their intended actions. If it's defined by their intentions, what matters is their intentions going into a situation. If they are intending for the best, for the right thing to happen, it doesn't matter what actions they take for that, as long as their intentions are morally right. If it's by one's actions, it doesn't matter what their intentions are going into the situation, as long as their actions are morally right, the morally correct actions to take. The combination is a bit more of a less clear cut because you have to take into account their intentions as well as their actions. If their intentions are not clear and good, then it is not morally correct, as well as if their actions end up not being clear and good, it is not morally correct. The other form, which is the patient-centered theories of dentology, matter of less on their own personal duty and the duty to other people surrounding them. Patient-centered theories focus on the rights of other people in the situation over your own personal duties. So if it in any way harms the others in the situation, it will hurt and is not the morally right thing. That means that if they do not, in the case of the trolley, if you look at it from a dentology point of view, you have within the patient-centered side, it would be morally incorrect to throw the lever because no matter which, if you throw the lever, you are making a choice for someone else who does not have their own right to decide their fate. If you look at it from the agent-centered, it depends on if your intentions are your actions. If your intention is to save the majority, you would probably still throw it if that is deemed the morally most correct thing. However, it bases within the agent-centered about yourself and what is morally correct for you, and if you have any reason to care or stand for those people. Taking dentology and placing it towards that of whistleblowing and people who end up as whistleblowers is very important because it becomes a question of, is it their duty to go against the wishes of their higher ups, and how they choose to go about that. In the case of Chelsea Manning, she deemed it her duty to leak the classified data to WikiLeaks, and then she also considered it her duty to turn herself in after she had accomplished that. So if you look at her in the form of dentology, she was following both the patient side centered dentology theories, where herself and what would happen to her was less important than making sure that society knew of this information and making sure that the information was out there and that more than just the correct people knew, that the general public knew and could decide what was right and what was wrong in that situation, because she deemed that it wasn't just the right of the government and the few people in the government and army intelligence to know this information and know that this was occurring. She also was following a form of the agent-centered dentology because along with leaking it and following the patient-centered, she deemed it more important to also turn herself in and face the things, because she knew she was also breaking a law, and it would affect her long term if she, no matter what she did, and if she did in fact leak it, which she did. So she was following her own moral code to turn herself in at the end, even though she had to break her moral code to leak the data. It is important to know that people can follow many versions of this at the same time, and you should take into account the different sides of Dentology, as well as you should also take into account the consequentialism. But during her process of deciding whether or not to leak the data, she was most likely thinking less of the consequences and more of it as was her duty as a person who understood and knew what this information meant, to make sure it spread to everyone around her, and therefore it was her duty, and she accomplished it.